Hello, guys. We got to introduce what we are and all that. Don't start my time if I have to introduce myself. You're making me do that, okay? My name's Alexis Hughes. I have a group called You Heard Her. We're an advocacy group for female students, parents, and teachers in Cabarrus County who feel unsafe coming forward with their stories, whether it be about the bathroom or otherwise.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you restarting my time. On June 1st, Dr. Kopicki sat before this board and said data showed that only 2% of the reported incidences occurred in school bathrooms. The implication was because the number is low, there is little justification for implementing a bathroom policy. But that argument ignores both common sense and reality. You know what things have policies and laws against them? Hate crimes, drunk driving, traffic fatalities, school shootings, sexual assault, racial profiling, human trafficking, kidnapping, terrorism, student suicide, student weapon possession on school property, child abuse, and neglect. What is interesting is that each of these issues directly affects less than 1% of the U.S. population in a given year. Yet we still recognize these issues as important enough to address through laws, policies, and accountability. As a society, we do not determine whether an issue deserves attention solely based on the percentage of people affected or percentage of incidents. We consider the severity of the harm, the vulnerability of those impacted, and our responsibility to create safe communities. In fact, common sense tells us that many of these issues remain lower percentage-wise precisely because policy safeguards and accountability measures were put in place. The purpose of policy is not to wait until a problem becomes widespread. The purpose of policy is to prevent harm before it does become widespread. So citing a statistic that only 2% of incidents occur in bathrooms is not an argument against policy like you think it is. If anything, it is an argument for proactive policy. What concerns me even more is the assumption that the 2% figure accurately reflects reality. It is obvious that incidents occurring in classrooms, hallways, and cafeterias are more likely to be reported and make up a larger part of the data set because adults are present to witness them. Teachers, administrators, and staff see what happens and document it. Bathrooms and locker rooms are different. They are one of the few places in a school where students are largely unsupervised. It should not be controversial to acknowledge that incidents occurring in less supervised environments are more difficult to detect, document, and report. And we have additional reasons to question whether underreporting is occurring. We know that a cheer coach told the cheer students that there would be consequences if they reported or made a big deal about a biological male being present watching them in their bathrooms and locker rooms. If students believe there will be punishment, retaliation, embarrassment, or social consequences for speaking up, many simply will not report what they experience. And while obviously that cheer coach isn't going to be going to leadership to report it either. That is not evidence that incidents are not occurring. That is evidence that students may not feel safe reporting them, which is exactly why several members of this board were right to ask questions about the data and right to acknowledge that underreporting is a possibility, if at all but Melanie, if all of them, sorry about that, right to acknowledge that underreporting may be a possibility, even if all but Melanie waited until after the federal investigation was open to do so. Yet when those questions were raised, Dr. Kopicki, your response was quite hostile and defensive. That concerns many parents because transparency should welcome scrutiny, not resist it. And unfortunately, concerns about transparency are not new with you. During your tenure in Pennsylvania and under your leadership, right-to-know requests, the same as North Carolina FOIAs, were wrongfully denied. The matter went before court, and the court ordered the records released. Rather than accepting that ruling, you pursued further legal action seeking to overturn the court's decision and prevent the release of those records. Matters of public record. So when parents here ask questions, when board members ask to review the data, and when concerns are met with dismissal or defensiveness, people naturally wonder whether transparency is once again taking a back seat to protecting a predetermined narrative you want to present and protect. Was that why you abruptly resigned there from your contract in 2021? The issue is not whether the number is 2%. The issue is whether this district's lack of policy created an environment where the rights, privacy, safety concerns of biological female students were disregarded. The issue is whether girls were expected to surrender protections that Title IX was designed to guarantee. And given that this district is now facing a federal Title IX investigation, I believe there is sufficient reason to conclude that these concerns deserve far more than dismissal, deflection, or statistics designed to minimize them. They deserve answers, accountability, and corrective action. Responsible leadership does not minimize concerns, call girls girls and their parents liars or buried their head in the sand. Responsible leadership understands that protecting students is more than protecting narratives. Members of the board, Kapicki and the attorneys work for you. You do not work for them. Direct them to do what you ask, and if they refuse, that is insubordination and grounds for dismissal. Oh, and Dr. Kapicki, that parent who had to go through the courts to get that data and information they were illegally allowed to have, her name's Jamie Walker. She asked me to tell you hi when I talked to her this week.